We talk a lot in this group and in this training about taking control of the situation, about pullbacks. The pullback is simply a way of you showing the business owner that you are in control. It's how you get control back. The breakup text is the exact same thing. It's just a version of a pullback. And so you guys have seen how effective they are. And the crazy part is, for those of you that have never done it or that have done it just one time, it's super scary. The first time you do a pullback, the first time you do a breakup text, it's scary as shit, especially when you haven't had a deal in a while, or especially when you've never had a deal. But here's the crazy part. The irony behind it being so scary is it is the one thing that's going to save the deal. Doing that pullback, doing that breakup text, that's the one thing that's going to save the deal. You've got a guy ghost you, you got a girl ghost you, you've been sending 2-3 leads, all of a sudden they go ghost. You will never get that deal until you sack up and you send the breakup text, or you call them and say what needs to be said and do that pullback. So here's the deal. Very, very simple, just to make sure we're on the same page. For those that are newer and weren't here in the beginning when I was doing the hot tub videos and talking about the pullbacks, there's a very simple law. I don't know the exact terminology that the smart people would call it, but I call it the law of control. And that is, he or she who cares the least or appears to care the least has all the control. And so here's the thought that I've been having as I've been thinking about this. We know the breakup text is super effective. We know the pullback is super effective. It's dangerously good. It gains control like that. And I know some of you guys have apprehensively tried it. You've sent the message in fear, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, that worked. You've been messaging someone for 3 days, nothing, ghost, breakup text. 5 minutes later, you got a text back. It works. So here's the question I have. Okay, this is a rhetorical question. Why aren't we using that breakup pullback mentality in every facet of our business? If it's so good and it works so well and it gives us all of the control, why are we not using it all the time? And I'm a firm believer, and I say this in version 2.0 and I said it in version 1.0. You can't overdo the breakup text. That's the cool part. You can't, because if the person is coming along with you, if they like what you're selling and they need what you're selling and you've positioned it correctly, a pullback is not going to hurt the deal. A pullback is only going to give you more control. So the question I want you to be thinking about as I share the following story is, why are we not using the pullback breakup text, gain control of every situation, every facet of our business mentality if it works so well? Why do we only reserve it for when the business owner's dicking off? Just a rhetorical question. This is a mindset. The breakup text, the pullback, that's a technique. That's a one-time thing. How do we develop a mindset of, I don't give a fuck? I do not care. I care less than you. And I'm talking about with the business owner. Don't go and let this bleed into your personal life, your spouses and everything like that. How do we incorporate that into every facet of our business? Because we know it works. So instead of just a pullback here, a breakup text there, how do we actually incorporate this? How do we get to the level where we can truly appear to not give a flying fuck about what happened? And some of you guys are like, why would I want to do that? Because it's how you get deals. It's how you control the entire process. And I'm going to talk deeply about this, but here's the deal. And as I started thinking about this, I'm like, what is the answer? How do we get to that level? How do we have that mentality? And the answer is very, very simple. The answer is, if you want to become a master, if you want to just embody this trait, you have to be willing to lose the deal and walk away. No matter how juicy it seems, no matter how easy that money is, they come crawling back to you. You have to be willing to lose the deal, and you have to be willing to walk away. And I'm telling you right now, business owners can sense the difference. Some of you guys are sending the text, but you don't mean it. Some of you guys are saying the statements, hey, I want to think about it. They know damn well if they call you in an hour, you're doing the deal. We got to make up our minds right now. The best way, the way that you can embody this trait, the way that you can have control over the entire sales process and become a really talented closer, you got to be willing to walk away from the deal, no matter how freaking juicy it seems. And you can't fake this. Here's a couple examples. When you get done with a deal, they're not responding, you send them a text, say, hey, if you don't respond to me by 5 p.m., I'm finding somebody else. You got to be willing to back up your word, that when they call you, you're not answering. When they call you, say, hey, I moved on. You missed the boat. You got to be willing when you say, hey man, I want to think about it. I made up my mind a couple years ago. I made up my mind last week. I made up my mind this morning. I want to think about it. That's not how I roll. I'm too busy. I got too much going on. I got too valuable a product. I want to think about it. And when you say that, you stick to it. And when they call you the next day, you ain't answering. You got to be willing, because they're going to know the difference. You got to be willing when you say, hey, if you call me tomorrow, I'm charging you double. I'm charging you $3,500 instead of $2,000. You got to be willing to stick to your guns. That, my friends, is how we actually live this mindset of the ultimate control.